Hey, we're talking Canes. We got the super chat on. Also, leave your comments, your questions. A lot of comments in the live chat. Looking for questions as well. Yeah, I've not reviewed this UAB game. I don't know that there's a whole lot we can gather from that. They put up a lot of points. They gave up a lot of points. 45-35 game. Tyler Johnston's their starting quarterback and had been at least last year as well, because I just know that name. And he didn't have to put it up too much last night in the big win against Central Arkansas. But UAB, we talked about it last week. Again, I've not taken any kind of deep dive into the roster or the personnel, but they've made it to 2 consecutive Conference USA championships. So it should be a team that Miami beats, but not without any type of effort or certainly taking them for granted, because they're capable. They're used to playing. It's not like they never play a Miami Standard type team. They load up their non-conference slate each year with a couple games like this. So they're used to being on the field with talent that's superior to theirs, and how to approach that.
Yeah, and I mean, UAB, obviously they put up crooked numbers on offense. They're going to run the ball. They had, 3 running backs find the end zone. So it's not key on one person, but it's, maybe cutting down or trying to combat the scheme, that they're running and things like that. But that game wasn't as close as the score. Like Central Arkansas had 2 short touchdowns, and then they had a touchdown on defense. 2 short touchdown drives, like 6 yards and 15 yards or something like that, and then like a defensive touchdown. So then that takes you from 45-14 to 45-34, like that. You know what I mean? So it was still a mismatch. Like UAB showed well. Obviously, there were some errors that Miami can look to exploit, and that UAB is going to look to clean up in this next 5 days. This is one of the better mid-major teams, obviously, since I know that they did have that year off because of the Alabama state legislature. But, when they came back, Bill Clark has done a good job there. The quarterback, he's decent. Obviously, the coaching is good. They run good schemes. They try to put their guys in advantageous positions for them and things like that. But we respect all opponents and fear none. And I've always said that. And Miami should win this game. But Miami needs to come out early. And this is the thing that Miami has rarely done. Come out, hey, how about Miami go up 14-0 in the first quarter? You know what I mean? 17-3 in the second. I would love that. Miami's rarely done that. I mean, look, you got the 2017 Notre Dame game. You boat race them. Outside of that, it was the Orange Bowl against Wisconsin before the worst interception I've ever seen. And that turned the tide of that game because we were running them out of the gym, running them out of the barn, 14-0 with ease early on. But that turned the tide of that. But that was one where you started to have that kind of a thing, and that was in the first quarter. Apart from that, I struggle to think of times when Miami just got out to you get a fast start, and then you put the other team on the back foot, and then you go from there. If you look at the Florida State games, you came back from 27-7. Why? Because you were down like that. If you look at this other games, you come back from something. Why? Because you were down like that. The Virginia Tech game where you spotted them 28 points in the first quarter or early into the second quarter. Let's get a fast start. Come out with a good script, get a fast start, and, keep it going. And we've seen some opening drive touchdowns and things like that, but let's put that together. Let's get a stop and a score and a stop and a score. You know what I mean? Things like that. That would be appropriate or appreciated for me this weekend.
Just to give some context to UAB's, the expectation that we should have for Miami and for UAB. And of course, each season, each team is different, but at the same time, Miami level football in the Power 5, wanting to be and hoping to be and having the expectations that they should be a contender in their conference versus what UAB's been, which has been what Cam has stated to be a very high-level group of 5 team, although maybe a notch down from the American Conference and some of the real heavyweights like UCF and Boise State, but still quality. Okay, this is what they've done with like opponents in recent years. So UAB in 2019, a team that went to the conference championship game, lost by 2 touchdowns to App State in a bowl game. So that's about where they are. They played Tennessee on the road, of course. They lost 30-7. Tennessee was decent. They were Fringe top 25. They finished 8-5. They won a bowl game over Indiana. They lose that game 30-7. And again, when we spit out scores, we don't know. I didn't see these games with UAB, but we don't have the context of the game, but we do have a final score here. The season before, they won Conference USA, won a bowl game, finished 11-3. They lost to, where is it? I believe Texas A&M 41-20. A Texas A&M team, Jimbo Fisher's first season, that went 9-4 and was a top 15 team, lost to him 41-20. If I remember correctly, it was a pretty competitive game. Year before that was 2017. That was their first year back. They did go 8-5 and go to a bowl game. They lost to a 4-7 Florida team, but obviously it's Florida. They're still really talented, even though they were a mess that year at 4-7. They lost 36-7. 2015 and 16, they didn't compete, so anything prior to that's not necessarily too relevant. But just to give you a gauge, stay within 2 to 3, 4 touchdowns. It depends on the situation against those teams.